What is up, guys? I'm gonna talk about the Big Five today, part of the meta typology series. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about openness, the different side of the Big Five. It's the test the most used for personality literature, and I already talked about MBTI and Big Five, I think, in my 411 association video. So in my sense, the Big Five kinda like the instincts and the cognitive underpinning. So it's more concerned about the behaviors and the mechanism, even though it will kind of track some kind of instinct or cognitive fashion. Not so much. Still, not so much. It will do that by focusing on behavior and mechanism, but it doesn't focus on that. So and behaviors and mechanism is more something horizontal, more something you observe, not something that is going about the real mechanism, which MBTI is trying to do. But the problem is more that MBTI now is more like a Big Five revamp. That agreeableness is more associated with T or F. Extroversion literally IE, the letters of MBTI. Conscientiousness is pretty much the P and the J. And openness is pretty much the S and the N, It's like if you're open, you're N. If you're not open, you're S. And this one is more like on the MBTI website, the 16 personalities. There's kind of new letters. For a long time, but new in the sense that it's not something classic. Like I think it's like INFJP or INFJS, and the P is like low neuroticism, and S is like higher neuroticism. It's like something like that. So it's actually, the MBTI now is actually more a Big Five revamp. So a lot of people don't know that. It's pretty much it. But yeah, because Carl Jung focused on cognitive functions, and actually, cognitive functions are actually instincts for me. Not for me, but I think that what he actually meant is more like they are instinctual and archetypal rather than cognitive. But he named them cognitive to appear more scientific, and I think it's more something that connect to Carl Jung, TI. That is more actually something cognitive alike. I think it's more something that the TI FE will kind of do. I think it's more within the ST kind of science that Carl Jung tried to do. And I think because of that, name, it really helped actually MBTI. But I think that later on is actually made that a problem, because people are like, okay, cognitive is like pseudoscience with cognitive. It's like, what? So I think because now everything that is cognitive in psychology or just anything, it's more something that you do with biology. So it's not really something you do theories about. Maybe a little bit like cognitive psychology. There's still a lot of models that are not strictly biological, but it's still something that is more process alike. And MBTI still has that kind of too much pseudoscience to be investigated within the cognitive psychology kind of paradigm. And it's so fucking bold. And what is this doing? That's like, okay, without the biological, what are you doing? So yeah, and by the way, my 4-level association are behaviors, mechanics, cognitive, and instincts. I was supposed to talk just about the Big Five, but now I'm making just a complete view. So behavior is more on the surface, or the one you can say after it's mechanics, after it's cognitive, after it's instinctual, and they have a connection to a particular cognitive function. Like Dave is saying that everyone is FI. It's not really true. Is that everyone has a instinctual underpinning at the bottom, and you can connect that with FI universally. Can connect that with FI universally doesn't mean that the person that everyone is more FI or something like that. Cognitive is more TI, mechanics T, and behaviors is FE. So and each axis has a blind spot, you know. So if TI axis have a blind spot to mechanics and instincts, and the TFR axis have a blind spot to behavior and cognitive. So there's some part of their process that they have a blind spot on, and particularly when they construct a theory or do a model about psychology. So yeah, and yeah, like I said, the big five is more horizontal, but MBTI focus more on something vertical that is more instinctual or cognitive. But more like what Carl Jung tried to do. So yeah, so I did the connection, pretty much that actually, pretty straight up. But connecting it with OPS, in my sense, openness doesn't take a huge brain to know that, in my sense. Openness, OE, pretty much OE, intuition actually. So yeah, part of it is right about the intuition in my sense, but still the OE. So SC users or SC saviors are still very open. NI saviors, even if they are OI, they still at the end, so they're still pretty much open. And there's also other things in my sense. I think that probably double feminine people are probably more open. I didn't pin that. Okay, I think that consume probably. I think that skip, so play. I think that play is more open. Energy dump. I pin energy dump. Okay, interesting. Yeah, EP. Intuition. Social type 4, I do think so. I think that social type 4 has a more inclination for openness. Yeah. But I think that particularly is more OE and EP thing. Consume play. And after it would be FF and social 4. So that's more my sense for openness. That's my result, by the way, for it's more the result for Jordan Peterson test about the big five. So I score pretty high on openness, so it does make sense with my type. I would say what lacks in my type to be even more open is that I'm sleep saviors instead of play saviors, but pretty much everything about my type is very about being open. I'm masculine OI, so maybe that's actually a negative point there. I'm not social 4, even though I think social 4 is probably the thing that is the least important and all that. I mean, extrovert function, I'm still an EP, so and any TE are probably the most open function. I would say maybe any TE, yeah. People might argue TI. I think it's more any TE, the most open function. And yeah. Conscientiousness. Pretty much a sense why I think that people that are more thinking alike, I think they will be more conscientious, particularly in a world that is more about working. So I think that conscientiousness is also related to work. Yeah, I put thinker, yeah. Sleep, MOI. MOI, I do think sleep is more something, you're more organized. IJ. So, and I mean, infodom, yeah, I do think infodom, I mean, sleep blast, info. It does make sense, consciousness that is related to info. Openness to energy dump, maybe. I didn't write it before. It does make sense, maybe. It seems that I put it there the other time. Yeah, and social tree, yeah. Does make sense. Conscientiousness, I'm actually high. I think, I mean, still self-report, still a self-report test. I think that I'm still conscientious because I have the masculine OI. I'm sleep. Still very focused on my introvert function as a whole, I think. Yeah, I'm a social tree. So I'm still pretty much conscientious. And I think it does depend on genetics too, like, I don't know. I think it does depend on genetics too, like, okay, your type is highly genetic, but I think that there's still portion of them that are outside of type that are genetic to some degree. But yeah, extroversion I'm pretty low, and extroversion I, not a stretch, play blast, extrovert type, in OPS we just dive a lot into extroversion, introversion. A pretty classic one, introvert animal last, play blast, DOE. Some optimistic extrovert function. Social type 2, probably the most extrovert social type. Maybe, probably. Like I said, the least important in my sense is the big 5 kind of matrix. Even though social 4 for agreeableness does seem to make the most sense and all of that. But yeah, FD, double decider, FF, play. Somewhat extrovert, I think that people that are agreeable are somewhat extrovert. Feeler, think for sure feeler. People might disagree, but feeler all the way. FD, yeah, double decider, FF, someone that is play. I didn't put EJ, maybe I should put EJ. Yeah, maybe I should put EJ actually. So maybe EJ there too. Yeah, nevrotism. This one is more a stretch. It's more a stretch, like I just theorize. It's not something in my sense that might be something correlated. I mean, it might be. I think it's correlated in OPS, but I don't think it's. I think it's more something outside of type in a way, the nevrotism, even though they do see it in the literature. For sure, I think it's more something experience. I like, growth. Growth, your upbringing, I don't know what you fucking eat, man, your chemicals, something like that. But maybe MDE, maybe decider, maybe overly decider, maybe overly observer. For some reason you got it and that in your experience or in your genetic or something like that. Maybe more sleep. I think it's more play last. I like the classic characterization of nevrosis, more something fearing the outside world. I think there's still a bias in this, in my sense, in the big 5, that high extroversion is positive, seen as positive, being conscientious seen as positive, openness is correlated with IQ and like stuff like that. So it's still more positive if you're high openness. The big 5 doesn't say this is bad, this is good, but they still kind of value or traits more than others, And nevrotism is more something that even Jordan Peterson talked a lot about that. Encourage people to be less nevrotism, which is still encourage people to be more conscientious, more nevrotism. Agreeableness, it depends, be more or be less. It kind of depend on the person, but oftentimes it's better to be high in extroversion, low nevrotism, high conscientious, and high openness, and what the people say about the big 5. So yeah, in the literature it does seem to be more implicitly towards that, even though I don't think it's really biased per se, but yeah, it does have an implicit kind of positive association, I would say. Yeah, trouble introverted functions, even though I would say it's like a play last, still nevrotism still is about trouble with their introvert function. So maybe it might be someone that is super extrovert or super introverted, that will be more nevrotism, maybe more flex alike. Just theories there. I think that every type can be very neurotic, but I don't think it's really clean there. So yeah, just to say that, like the one that I'm actually not very neurotic, which I'm pretty surprised about actually. I mean, sure that I've been someone that is not stressed at all, but I've seen that maybe since I'm like 16 that I'm a lot more stressed, and I will say around 20 I was pretty stressed. So I mean, like everyone has ups and downs and all that, but it's true that I would say genetically, I mean, still a self-report, so maybe with a grain of salt, but I do think that it does seem that on the spectrum, or even genetically, I'm actually someone that is very low in nevrotism. I'm always like, okay, that will be fine, not a big deal. kind of have faith in that regard. And a lot of things actually that are associated with low in neuroticism is actually just what the fuck? Is actually just low extroversion, because actually in the big five they associate with extroversion with positive emotion. So I do think, I mean, I'm pretty positive actually. I'm actually a pretty positive guy, but I still have a ups and downs with that. So I do think, I mean, there's still some portion that I saw with extroversion that I thought was were neuroticism, but was actually low extroversion. So that does explain why I think I was higher in neuroticism. It's actually that my extroversion is low, and some of it is actually what I thought was neuroticism, you know. So yeah, that's more a post I did on Peterson Academy there. Actually, Jordan Peterson School. Kind of rent a little chore here, you know. Myself report, I know myself. I kind of wait a little cringy, more kind of play alike. But yeah. So I'm high on compassion actually. Politeness very low. Does seem to make sense, you know. Compassion might be more something like the F feeling thing. Maybe the FDE. Politeness, you know, maybe it's the low SI there. That got me. Conscientious, I'm very orderly. Industriousness, I'm pretty okay. I've said industriousness might be correlated more to thinker, or yeah, sleep less actually. While the orderliness might be more my masculine SI kicking in, my double masculine introverted function, sleep savior, and being a social tree. Makes sense there in my sense. Yeah, extroversion, my enthusiasm is 30. You know, it's not that bad. It's more that I'm not assertive, which makes sense. Which some of it, maybe that's what I thought was neuroticism. Is just that I'm just a mopey guy, and social tree is more melancholic alike. So I'm still more low in assertiveness, which is more something maybe social tree, melancholic alike, mopey. And yeah, without neuroticism, I'm low in withdrawal, which is surprising. You know, withdrawal I associate more with extroversion, but whatever. I'm very not volatile, so I would say that's the one that is really true. And openness, intellect, I'm actually at 82, which is high, but it's not that high. It's more that the aesthetic I'm 96. So the aesthetic might be more akin to maybe that OE, Comsum, NE, EP, and intuition. While the intellect might be something I'm missing a bit. Missing a bit. That is slower than the aesthetic in the sense that I don't have that thinker, saviors, or maybe MOE kind of crazy intellect retaining all the info. Yeah, more about the flow, the aesthetic, the NF, whatever. So yeah, that was my meta topology, kind of illustrating the big five from a lot of angle, you know, comparing to MBTI, kind of doing my own association to OPS, you know, my own association to OPS2. It's my own composition. Might be you might see it differently. Thinking a little bit about the 4-level association, and kind of connecting it with my own kind of report of the big five. So yeah, thanks for watching.